Let me introduce you to my friends Megatron, 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 and Megatron in party colours. Yeah, we've had a lot of Megatrons over the last few years, quite a few different designs. We've obviously got the Beast Wars and the Transmetals 2 versions, the Armada version, but we've had a lot of tank Megatrons, particularly G1 style Megatrons, and the most recent one being this fellow here, Studio Series 86 Leader Class Megatron. So what I want to do with this video is I want to just take a quick look at the three main tank Megatrons that we've had over the last few years, particularly G1 style tank Megatrons. Compare the alt modes, compare the robot modes, see which one really I think is actually the best of the bunch. So let's start with the oldest of these. So let's just pop these two off to the side. And let's start with this. Now this is the Netflix version. So it's this from the spoiler pack. It has yellowed quite badly. Don't know if that's coming across on camera. But this is the Netflix version of the Siege Megatron mould, which I really like. I mean, I thought that it was a good update on the actual tank style Megatron. It was something that obviously a lot of people want him to be a gun again. That's never going to happen, at least from Hasbro or Takara. So I think making him a decent tank is really all we can hope for. But I do like this mold. I do really like the mold. I like the designs, particularly of this one. I like the colours. Let's just move that out of the way because it's going to fall off anyway. I like the colours. I like the metallic effect that they've got running throughout. Obviously on what will eventually become the legs and the arms as well. I think this one looks really cool as like a stylized Cybertronian sort of tank. Now this did come with all sorts of accessories. You've obviously got the matrix that's chained up there, a couple of blast effects, and this cannot remember what they called this. These are going to go play Dungeons and Dragons later. And then this is the actual main mold. He also came with this guy, with Skelevor, big purple dinosaur, not to be confused with Barney. I wasn't that interested in the fossilizers, but I got this because I hadn't got the Siege mold yet, and I saw a good offer on the Netflix pack, so I thought I'd grab it. And this was my primary sort of display Megatron for quite a while. I don't display it in tank mode because, let's face it, it's Megatron, who does? But it is really a nice rendition of the character. Transformation-wise, if you've not seen it before, it's pretty straightforward. So you pull this front cannon off, and that becomes sort of a sword with a gun in the middle. How practical that is, I don't know. Looks neat, but not really anything that you kind of need. But it's got a couple of 5mm pegs, so you can mount it. And then to get this fully transformed, you can separate the arms. So you don't actually have to take the fusion cannon off if you don't want to, but it does get in the way. So I'm just going to pop that off over there and just knocked my camera while I was doing it. So the transformation for this is pretty straightforward. If you look underneath, there is a Megatron under there. You can't really hide the fact that it's a robot in disguise. It's not much of a disguise if you can look under and look him in the eye. But it's a decent enough transformation. It's quite neat for how it works. We've got why won't that come out of there now? I only transformed this a little while ago. That should be coming out. Ah, yes, because that's still tabbed into there, you silly man. So tabs into the side there, and then you can pull out these, flip these around. These are a bit of a pain because they like to spin in all sorts of directions, and I can never remember which way is supposed to be the front and which way is supposed to be the back, but I suppose it doesn't really matter too much. Let's untap that side. Lots of snapping going on with this plastic. It's a bit... the newer plastic feels a bit more malleable, so it feels a bit nicer to sort of transform. This kind of snaps and cracks and makes all sorts of noises while it's going. We can fold out the heels while we're here. Let's see if they do the thing they normally do, which is try and pop off, because that's not straight there, but if I try and straighten it out, there's a good chance that that's going to... oh no, stayed on this time. That's a surprise. And then this side, yeah, it did, but they're very easy to pop out of those ports in the bottom. Happens a lot more with the Earthrise mould, from my experience anyway. Spin his waist down, round. Unpeg these at the side, and then you can kind of unpeg this back piece, this panel here, move that back, fold it up. Then this whole section just pops out here, and then swing the arms round, get them pegged into the side, get the backpack down, and these bits just... can you do that while that's... Yes, you can. That is what you're supposed to do, I believe. I remember... Oh, no, leave that folded out. See, it's been a while since I actually fiddled with this a great deal. So that sort of folds down onto his back. Pop his head into place. That doesn't really lock into place on mine. I don't know whether that's a common thing or not, but it kind of sort of drops in quite easily. But once you've positioned it, I suppose if you're not pulling it around all over the place, it's fine. You've got these little shoulder pieces that you could leave up, I suppose, but they're supposed to be laid down. And then you pop out the fists, and then Megatron is nothing without his fusion cannon. I didn't mean it in that way, Megatron, please don't kill me. So yeah, I really like this mould, this design for Megatron. It's really cool with sort of like the metallic paint that they've got on this version in particular, but the regular version was pretty nice as well from what I saw. Posability is okay. I mean, we've got ankle rockers that again are very snappy to lock in. You've got elbows and swivels and arms that go out 90 degrees. No wrists, which is annoying because he comes with this, which is supposed to be some sort of sword. And if he's got no wrists, it's going to be hard for him to actually use a sword particularly well. You can also, as I said, pop that on his other arm and give him another fusion cannon style thing if you want to. But yeah, I do like the kind of metallic flash of paint that they've got on the fusion cannon itself with this one. But as you can probably see, a lot of that grey plastic is yellowing quite badly at this point. But yeah, it was a decent Megatron. And then they brought out the Earthrise mould. Now, I didn't get the original Earthrise mould, but I did get the G2 one because it looks ridiculous. I actually had the original G2 when I was a child, and I really sort of had fond memories of it randomly playing noises and sound effects in the middle of the night, and it was kept on a shelf above my bed and used to scare the life out of me. Obviously, this one doesn't have the electronics, but it really does evoke that same kind of feeling of the G2 with the ridiculous colours. I mean, why on earth would Megatron... I mean, G2 in general was very unusual, but why on earth anyone would think that a green and purple tank was good for a robot in disguise is beyond me. I really don't understand it, but I still absolutely love it. It's just ridiculous. Tank-wise, I think this one is a stronger tank mode. It's obviously a bit more solid. It hasn't got kind of like the 4 leg bits. It's got this panel back here that kind of fills in a little bit of the back. Like the Siege one, it's got the same feet. So you can still see them kind of hanging off the back there, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, with these, turret moves, doesn't go up and down. The Siege one also spins around, doesn't go up and down, because this is largely the same construction for the turret. It's mostly the same mould. There's just a few extra bits that cover up gaps and bits that tab in. Different accessories as well. So let's pull this out. This is the gun barrel, and it's sort of like a spear on a stick kind of thing. You've got a 5mm peg here, so you can have him actually mount it on his arm, or I will show where I like to keep it when we get him into alt mode, into robot mode. And then we've also got this panel at the back here that you need to slide out for transformation as well, and that can act as some sort of arm-based shield. You can slot it onto here if you want to. It's got a part there for the peg there, so you can pop it on there. It doesn't make it look any better. It's just kind of an extra panel that they included, but you can see the gap it leaves behind is then makes it look the same as the Siege version. Again, you can keep the fusion cannon on, but I think removing it just gives you a little bit more space to play with. It doesn't have the fold-up bits on the arms here, so everything sort of plugs together in a slightly different way with this front cannon. But again, underneath, and even more so because you don't have the bit that folds over the front, there's definitely a Megatron under there. Again, in disguise, doesn't really work when if you drove over the top of someone's head, they'd be able to give you a bit of a peck on the cheek. But transforming, very similar. Like I said, the legs are almost the same, apart from where they tab in. They also tab in on the side here. The plastic on this one is even snappier than the previous one. I'm always worried that I'm going to break something with those tabs in particular. Hasn't happened yet, but it does feel and sound like it's going to at some point. So that's not pleasant. You see a little bit of yellowing, unfortunately, on this grey plastic on here, because I think it's almost the same as what's on the Siege version. And you fold this up. These are the bits that love to fall off on my one. So let's see if I can get them folded out and snapped into the right places without that. But again, ready for the snap. Oh, that one wasn't as bad. And you spin. Again, these waste pieces are just a bit of a pain because they need to spin a certain way to be able to actually transform it, but they then don't really like spinning without spinning the whole rest of the leg. So let's pop this on, and again you can kind of see where that's not particularly in there very well. It's just a bit loose, very easy to just kind of pull off. Normally it happens when I'm trying to fold it up, but it's easy enough to pop back on, spin the waist round, same as the other one. The top treads, again, you sort of separate them from this middle part here, and then you can extend out the top bit. This one locks in a lot better with the head, which again I'll show in a moment. That spins around. I love that G2 Decepticon symbol. It's, again, ridiculous, doesn't resemble anything, but it's fantastic. Then you can spin the arms around, they peg in the same way, pop the backpack down. And then this has actually got a bit more of a secure connection. It doesn't push down as easily. And it's also got some tabs on there, on the top there, that stop it coming out any further, which this Siege one doesn't have. I've not noticed that before. Mushroom peg just slid off out of the channel there, so let's get that back in. That's not happened before that I remember. It's sort of not quite in far enough. There we go. And then we've got his big purple fists, and again finish him off with the fusion cannon. And to kind of replicate the effect of the over-the-shoulder kind of cannon look that he had, I like to pop mine up here. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so big it can't even fit in frame at the moment unless I put him all the way back here. But yeah, this is purely for nostalgia that I really love this. I mean, it's sort of an improvement on the Siege design. Those have come untabbed for some reason. It's an improvement over the Siege design in its sort of style and its engineering, and the tank mode looks a bit more, obviously because it came from the Earthrise line initially, the tank mode is a bit more Earth-like, a bit more actual tank looking, but it wasn't great. Do you really necessarily get a Megatron for the tank mode? Not really. I mean, everyone wants him to be a gun again, which, as I said, isn't going to happen, at least from an official source. But I'll be honest, I didn't expect them to even really try doing a better alt mode than what we got with Earthrise. It was as good as I thought they were going to make it. Yeah, they might do something with the feet because, like I said, they hang out a little, obviously, on the back of the tank, but I wasn't expecting them to really put much effort into making any sort of improvement. I thought this was sort of what we were pretty much stuck with for the foreseeable future. And then Studio Series 86 Megatron came along. This is better in pretty much every way. The tank mode itself, I know I'm not going to keep it in this mode very much, but I can't help but keep transforming it because tank mode genuinely looks good. It's got a bit of a quirk where the turret rotates at a very odd point, but if you can look past that, it looks really nice. There's no obvious sort of robot parts, so unlike with the previous two, you can't see there's a Megatron under there somewhere. You can obviously tell it's going to do something if you know what you're looking for, but it's just generally a better, more solid tank mode. It just feels nice to hold. I love the treads going all the way around, and the fact that it's got wheels and a roller where most modern tank formers, I'm looking at you, Tarn, don't have wheels at all. It's very nice that they actually included those. I never thought I'd be grateful for wheels on a tank. Comes with the sword, which looks great. I mean, they could have done it in clear plastic, and I think that would have looked just as good, but I like the fact that this is nice and solid. It's not likely to suddenly snap or fall apart. He also comes with a mini version of himself that he can hold. So we've got actual, obviously slightly edited version of his original alt mode, which is great, and I'm definitely going to be storing this with my Starscream or Soundwave, more likely than on the tank. This is also removable, so if you wanted a tiny little short barrel there, no judgment, but this is also comes off and becomes the back-mounted barrel on the figure's robot mode. I love this figure. I don't know if you can already tell. I really wasn't expecting something to be any better or any more accurate or more suitable than the Earthrise mould, and then this came out and it's just blown that out of the water completely. I was thinking my Siege one is going to be my display piece, and my Earthrise, my G2 version, is going to be my piece for just nostalgia and memories. But I'm getting rid of the Siege or the Netflix version once I've done this video, just because I know I'm not going to need it. I know I've got a much better Megatron here now that's just pretty much better in every way, really. So transformation-wise, completely different to here. This is where I think they've really excelled, because, like I said, you can't necessarily tell where everything's going to go on this figure. I mean, the turret bit are still the arms. That's a little bit obvious. You can't keep the fusion cannon attached because that fits on completely differently, and I think they've done a really good job of finding somewhere for that to sit without just keeping it the same as, it plugs into the 2 ports on each arm and goes down the middle. It also partially transforms to be able to easily fill in and look much nicer. Even got a little bit of red detailing on the top there, which is beautiful. So this was complicated to understand, but once you've got it and you know where everything goes, I think it really does work as a transformation, and the effect that it has is excellent. So you unplug these, and there's lots of hinges all pinned, so you don't have to worry about them falling out. Lots of hinges that go up there, and then you can just leave the arms like that for now, because we're not going to be concentrating on those. These are going to be the feet, so you unfold those, flip those up. These don't like to tab in particularly well. I mean, this side is okay, this side really doesn't tab in, but once you've got the feet folded down, and if everything else is in place, then they're okay. They don't tend to move out of the way of anything. You can lift these up and lift up this panel where the arms are attached to, and that sort of separates this, so they tab into there, and that helps hold everything together. This next part for transforming the rest of the legs, I thought was absolutely genius. So you separate off each side. They peg in here, big peg there, got a peg there as well, which goes into here, and then you've got this tiny little peg at the front, sort of goes into here, and then you've got the peg there that goes into that slot for that. So that is really secure. Once you've got everything lined up, this can be a little bit fiddly to try and line everything up, make sure it's all in the right place, but you know when it is, because then it just doesn't move unless you're trying to unpeg it. So the treads fold down this middle part, and then these actually open up from either side. They're a bit tight once they're in, but they're fine. Fold in the tip, fold that, and the same on this side. So you open that up, fold it in, close that. This then folds all the way around itself. This little bit here, you can just about see that in the light, tabs in underneath there. This back panel, the middle part of the treads, slots in, and you can see there's a slot just in the middle there, and that tabs in nicely there, holds that together nicely in place. And then you take the foot, fold that so it's actually flat, flip this down, and that pegs nicely over the top and just holds everything together. So that's one leg. I think the way they've managed to hide, I mean, yeah, you can still see the treads on the back and a little bit at the heel, but the way they've managed to hide the entire treads within each leg is just amazing, and it does wonders for the robot mode once we get in there. So do this again. So you pull out this middle bit first. You have to do that, otherwise there's not enough clearance to spin these. Fold in the tip, fold that up. Same on this side. Fold it all together. Slot this in here. That then pegs up in there. This accordion's down. Move the heel out of the way, otherwise you don't get enough space. Just make sure everything pegs in nicely, and those are solid. I mean, some of the detailing on this is I've only just noticed those parts that don't get seen in either mode, but they're still there. They're detailed, and that's the legs done. This is another bit where it's sort of a lot of folding, so everything kind of sort of folds up inside what was the chest area, and you can see the head just about poking out in there now. So that tabs into the underside of there with this slot here. You can fold that up, swing the legs down. These are his side skirts, so you flip those out. You can fold those down. Also, while we're here, flip out the head. Fold in this little front panel from the tank. And then you can fold up the rest of the chest. Then this tabs in, and that the front panel on the sort of stomach area folds in and just holds that whole bit together. So that's, again, very secure in there, and it fits very nicely. The back, you have to spin the arms around, fold it under once, and this is the only bit that's a bit kind of fiddly for me, is getting these butterfly joints tabbed in, because they kind of have to sort of rest with that little tab in a slot inside there, which is really difficult to see. There it is. So you kind of have to sort of get everything positioned, and it's not that hard to move them once they're in place. You kind of just have to sort of pull it out a little bit, push the parts in, but just make sure that it all goes in and sort of slots into that corner. And again here on this side as well. And then there we go. So that's all in. Now the arms, they could have just had you unfold and flip out the fists, but they didn't. You actually unfold, and again revealing some lovely detailing on the inside of there. Spin the whole arm panel around, pop the fist out, and then close it all up around. So it actually completely changes the shape of the end of the arms. They could have done that a lot easier without having the additional spin, but I'm glad that they did, because it does just make a different shape. And again, those tab in nicely. Spin the waist round, get his legs facing the right way. Get his fusion cannon on. It's one complaint that some people have had, is that the fusion cannon looks a little bit small, and it is shorter, sort of in comparison. I mean, it potentially looks better size-wise that way around, but obviously that's not the right shape. I think it's all right. You can still plug this into the end if you want to make it a bit longer. However, this is supposed to peg into the back here to give him his sort of shoulder-mounted gun barrel look. That's the classic. I absolutely love this alt mode. How they've managed to make the robot mode not have a huge amount of kibble. I mean, these other ones look good. They look fine, but they are quite kibbly. There's a lot of stuff hanging off them. You can kind of tell that they're going to turn into a tank. This, I wouldn't, apart from the treads that you can see on the back, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that this wasn't going to turn into its original gun mode. And I think that's just absolutely genius engineering from here. And I'm very glad that they did a proper new update on here. Articulation-wise, he's got everything you could want. He's got the butterfly joints as well on these arms, which is excellent. They go out, they bend just past 90. They've got swivels. His hands are articulated in the same way as Studio Series 86 Prime. So you've got the 3 fingers with the bend in and then the 1 finger there. You can, obviously with the fingers open, you can pop his sword in. This I've found to be a little bit awkward because of the peg that's on the side that you use for alt mode. So you kind of have to put it quite far forward in his hand so it doesn't get in the way. There's not really any sensible place to put that peg without it kind of getting in the way. That's not tapped in correctly. There we go. That's better. Head up, Megatron. So yeah, with the additional swivels, obviously you've got the ability. It does have a little bit of back and forth as well because they are on ball joints. I have found that if you're not careful, very little pressure, that's actually come off now. The ball joints actually come out of the slot. It doesn't fall out of the hand because of the extra panel that's around it, but it just come off of out of the socket in there. All you got to do is just push it back in, or obviously if you can't find the right place, you can just open up the forearm and pop that back in. This can obviously be held as anything with a 5mm peg can, but there is a specific slot on the back to pop that in. You can pop it in that peg there, but that is mostly for the sword. So if we pop that out of there, now you can pop the sword in there as well. So I think they've done an excellent job updating and improving on what they've done for tank Megatrons, particularly from sort of the Siege and Earthrise lines. I wasn't expecting anything really to be significantly better than the Earthrise mould that we ended up getting, and this just absolutely blows it out of the water. Just the engineering that they've put into specifically the legs really make it hide the tank parts well. So if you just want a Megatron for display in robot mode, you don't necessarily going to transform it, then this is fantastic. But it helps that the transformation is really fun. Once you've got the hang of it, it's really intuitive, and the tank mode that you end up with is actually decent. So yeah, it's a bit of a shock from me. I wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did. I'm very glad I got it, and it's definitely going to become my main display Megatron. So this guy is getting sold. This guy I'm keeping because he just looks ridiculous. But yeah, that's the updated version. I just really hope that when we get him, it's only just been announced as of yesterday when I'm recording this. I hope the Soundwave does the same for the Siege / Netflix / Earthrise / Legacy / however many times they've re-released it. I hope the new 86 Soundwave does the same for him, because we really need a properly nice Soundwave to go with this wonderful looking Megatron. I just think if they keep working things out like this, we're going to have a very nice selection of Studio Series 86 figures. And just for one final comparison, if I can get it without knocking everything over, here he is, stood next to the 86 Prime. So even though Prime's a commander class, obviously comes with a bit extra, and the transformation's a bit more involved with Prime, I will say. There's a few extra sort of fiddly little panels and things, but they scale really nicely together. Megatron's actually slightly taller, just about. Megatron's plastic feels absolutely amazing. I really like the way that these two look together, and I can't wait for them to actually get some proper other moulds of both Soundwave and Starscream to go with him. But anyway, that's been my look at my selection of Megatrons with the most recent Studio Series 86. So until next time, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. I'll catch you later.